Hey guys, Mustached here to review the movie Goat. So, I have seen the trailer for this a few times, and I was quite intrigued, and I was already hearing quite the murmurs on the YouTubes of saying how this is going to be comparable to Zootopia, Disney. And after watching this movie, I do feel that the comparison is a little odd to make, on all things considered, of what this movie is going for versus Zootopia. But I digress. There is a type of discrimination, I guess, but it is not, as substantial as, it's not as, clear-cut as Prey and Predator. Well, I mean, it kind of, yeah, because, a giraffe wouldn't fall into the predator class, I don't think. So, yeah, anyway. I digress in thinking of the characters in the movie, but nor do I think an ostrich is, but here we are. Anyway, it was interesting watching this movie and seeing how quickly this got compared to Zootopia, which again I think is an unfair comparison to, again, for what this movie is going for. This movie is much more fixated on the sport, essentially basketball, but with extra biomes attached to basketball. And what I will say before just diving into the sort of, going over the story beats and all that, I will say the animation, I mean, this shouldn't really surprise anybody. I mean, from the makers of Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, I mean, in terms of just visual fidelity, I mean, this animation team is competing with Disney. Regardless of whether you like or dislike Disney, in terms of just pure animation, they are hitting Disney. That is for sure. Despite the comparisons maybe not making as much sense in terms of story beats. So yeah, that's what I will say on that matter. So, with all that out of the way, I will be reviewing this as objectively as possible, and we begin the movie with now that being established. We follow a young goat named Will, and he gets access, I believe it's his birthday, or some sort of celebration with his mom when he's really young, gets invited into watching his first game of which I'll essentially just call basketball, even though it's not. It's called something else. I forgot the name of it, but anyway. Point being is that he sees the star named Jet, the panther, and so with this, he's hyped to proclaim his dream is to one day be on that court. And thus, 10 years pass. From kid to adult. From having to pay some payments, living in a sort of runny down neighborhood. But he's holding off on that money. He's living the hustle life, as it were. But he does at least have a job, even if it's a low-ending one, which would be he delivers food. Very, considering this is from the makers of Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man, very similar beats to Spider-Man, I will say, in terms of oh yes, the delivery guy. Peter Parker was a pizza delivery guy in the Spider-Man movie, right. So there are I think they're clearly nodding to, the creator's roots here, in terms of the flow of this story. But the store itself is suffering through low customer, you know, outing. So they're also potentially going under, as it is implied in the movie. After his shift, he goes to an empty court, which he arrives before the big guys come in, as they are referred to as the bigs, because animals are displayed by, or like referred to as their size category rather than prey and predator. So again, the disparity isn't necessarily between prey and predator, but rather the size of the character is what is called into question here. And indeed, he does get kicked out by the much bigger competitors that take up the court. So he heads back to his apartment, where he gets the big old kick and has to hang with his other buddies in this run-down, like, base of operations. One hyena chick and a gopher, I believe, is the other animal. So, with Will, but before he takes on this place, he gets one true game on with this horse guy. He's like from one of the rival factions. You can see him on the right of the poster there. The horse. He pretty much opens up an invitation to anybody to challenge him to the sport, and eventually, obviously, our character will step up. It is through other people making videos, his friends primarily, making the videos about him, despite losing the game, technically, I mean, objectively speaking, he did get the first few scores, which were the massive shock to the horse guy until he started to have to take it seriously, which then that's when he began dominating. But that wasn't before Will got in some really good scores. And so the video is output on the world of whatever the equivalent of YouTube is on I forget what they call it in the movie, but yeah, that. So he also loses his money because he also gained money from his job, so he loses it pretty much instantly in this game. We learn very loose things about the side characters. His friend group, I guess I'll call them, the hyena and the gopher. The hyena is going on a date with someone we never meet, and then the gopher is a gamer, which is alliteration, which is nice. Anyway, so it is at this point. We also saw from the main Jet's competitor or manager earlier in the movie that Jet was desperate to, find a way to boost up their team so they could even have a chance at winning the trophy, whatever they call it, something specific, but whatever. Point being is that everything is riding on that. So the manager comes across this video, as implied by her arriving in the store to meet Will now. And I will say, despite this manager's, heel turn later in the movie, spoiler alert, I guess, I will say, for the initial manager position, or, little outing tactic here, I wish there was more of this in terms of, how success could be found, managers just happen to see a YouTube video and be like, give that person a shot. What a real, genuine shot. I wish that could also just apply to YouTube in it of itself. Boy, howdy, would that be fantastic. Whew. Anyway. So, he obviously signs on. And it doesn't take long for Jet the Panther to find out about this. She is not pleased with this information at all, but he's already signed on. We meet their coach initially, this monkey character. As we meet the rest of the team of the Thorns. We're also surrounding him on this poster. We have this big rhino guy on his left, the giraffe up there, the panther, who's the secondary, or other main character. These are the two, Will and Jet, that being. There's this lizard character on the top right of the poster. You can see. He's the fun character, we'll say, for the time being. And then you have the ostrich on the lower right end of the poster. That cooperates the entire team, including Will now himself. So we can see, initially, they are a team of oddballs in terms of just how they operate. And of course, as per usual, though, he is held off from even playing or getting a shot. So, after a montage of that, he gets some alone time, but not really, because he ends up on the same track as Jet, who he offers to do a little competitive one-on-one horse shooting, and if he can make each shot, then she promises to let him on the team officially, or let him play officially. So he keeps up with her for quite a number of shots. It is only until he's officially spooked by the trainer that he fumbles the shot. That we actually never technically see go in or out, but I'm just saying. It would be a fun little detour if we as the audience got to see the shot and it actually did go in, but they just assumed he missed. That'd be nuts, but I mean, right? So, with our current climate, the horse makes a diss track on the goat, because he's a competitor, they competed already, and he's our antagonist for the film, so he's laying it on thick, saying there will be some goat tears to shed along these lines. But that does not detract, as Will does eventually get to play after a fumble on the court. And with it, he even gets the assist on the win of the game that he plays. And so we can now begin to see what Jet's character arc clearly needs to be and what Will's needs to be. Will is the rookie who needs this chance to fulfill his dream, as it were, to step up to be that true one-of-a-kind, well, as the movie is literally and figuratively called, be the GOAT. And Jet, by comparison, is to stop being such an isolated player, as she is already considered the GOAT of the players, or was, in seemingly the passing of the torch, which they actually make the bit, and then they actually do a commercial in the movie about her passing the torch to him, and she refuses to do so, at least at this juncture of the movie. And we get some little snippets of the other characters, like the ostrich is obsessed with media and her appearance and how she's portrayed in movies and video games and such. We have the rhino dad and his two little chaos gremlins of rhinos. We have the ever so chillaxed giraffe and his willingness to rap, I guess, is what he kind of shifts into. And then you have the lizard, who I can only describe as the wild card, who ends up being a bisexual icon, unironically. And then his arc, because he does get one, bizarrely, is fascinating, to say the least. But we'll get there. Real soon, in fact. So, the goat, Will, and Jet have a little one-on-one time where they speed off into a train to get some quality R&R, as it were. He takes her back to his original workplace where he gets to reminisce about how he lost his mom and how his dreams have motivated him to progress, and how the people around that shop are the ones who pretty much take care of him as the whole the community. Oh no, it's a commune, it's a community, it's a communism, but good. Easy political joke aside, yes, they do work together, and this is where, we have the beginnings of a shift. We understand more of where Will is coming from and why, he's persistent in wanting to seek this dream. And more importantly is that Jet now finally hears this instead of, sort of offhanding it as she had been doing previously. And this is where we get our slogan of the movie, or the chant to the little town that they're repping, goes by, is that roots run deep. A very familial sort of catchphrase, as it were. But we get to see Jet propose that the monkey guy go from coach, in quotation marks, to no, he's actually the coach. And he does begin doing it properly at this juncture, so he gets his little character arc too. So we get our moments of, the rhino becoming a better guard. As I mentioned, Moto, I believe, is the name of the lizard, being a bisexual icon. And the reason I mention that is I only heard it in the audience, is you hear some lady in the audience say I love you, and then you in succession to her you hear a guy somewhere else say I love that guy. So bisexual icon as the fans to him, and he doesn't seem to mind, so it's I don't know, reciprocal question mark. I'm genuinely curious if they were genuinely toying with a character being bisexual in the movie, but I mean, hey, it is what it be. So anyways, they go to the ice biome, where we get the heel turn of our manager. She sells out the team when they were just one step away from, pretty much being a team. And we get our quick sort of down dip into oh no to the oh yeah moment of the movie, where it is up to primarily Will, but Will shortly joined by Jet, to reunite the players to play the true final game anyway. Fuck it, right? You've already come this far, as it were. And since she sold the team, she really can't. The warthog, I guess she is, can't really do much on her end on this regard. She just gets the money, and then, what they make of themselves at this point is totally on them in this regard, I suppose. But yes, despite their efforts, it is a close game, as any final game ought to be in a basketball or any sports game, really, because you gotta love that whole back and forth. They win with the GOAT making the final shot, obviously. And speaking of their team, as it were, they are now owned, and this happens in the movie, by the Lizard, the Moto, the bisexual icon, indeed. He now owns the team, as well as being a player on the team. Apparently, when they were playing their little poker game, that is what he put on the betting table, is the rights to the entire group. And it was a legit, thing that he did and won, apparently, even though they had no clue what they were playing, and nor did the rules ever come across as what they were actually playing really confirmed. So it was like an offhanded win that became a legitimate win that ended up having him become the owner of this team. But I digress in saying the whole team celebrates in the town. They say that they're since the Lizard is the owner, he claims that they will stay there, and everybody celebrates as they use the catchphrase once more, and they have themselves their final celebration as they, be that victorious winner of their squad. Hometown heroes and all of that. And that was essentially the movie GOAT. I will say, yeah, really fantastic animation. I don't typically say that because I'm more on the writing focus, but they make the basketball animation so seamless, and every character moves uniquely, which is something that I feel gets really lost really quickly in translation to, just us seeing a movie. So I thought I would, give the movie its props in its animation first, because I don't typically get to do that. And I do think that, when you have something that moves as uniquely as GOAT does, it is worth celebrating, because there was a sense of losing that at a time in a sense. I'm looking at you, Hotel Transylvania 3. But, Spider-Man had long brought that unique animation back, and the animation style is extremely fluid, and so on and so forth. So I will leave the animation glazing at that. In terms of writing, I will say it's a pretty standard, hero, basketball or sports journey in general. With the odd little chance of getting that opportunity of something that I think is rare, maybe even in sports, but especially outside of sports. Again, I'm looking at you, YouTube, but getting that chance to compete with a big horse guy is the biggest catalyst of the entire. It's what allows the movie to happen. So as much as he is an antagonist, the antagonist does the most important thing in the entire movie, really, if you think about it. Unintentionally, perhaps, but because he was dominating everyone else before. So, you know, the open invitation when it got to Will, everyone thought it was a joke, him most importantly. But I digress in saying that it was that very thing that allotted Will to progress and get that chance, that dream that I assume that, you know, so many young people, big or small, ever get the chance to get. You know, in the regard of sport. And to have that juxtaposed by somebody who is very much in their prime, was in their prime, very much, you know, it is about passing that torch down for this type of character in Jet. And I do think that contrast is a recipe for an easy success story in terms of just like really easy story beats to accomplish. And I do think that having the rest of the team be as unique as they are in terms of how they operate and sort of their quirks lends that extra oomph of, yeah, this is just a really quirky team, and it isn't just about Will, even though he is technically the main character, and that alludes to the broader theme of the whole teamwork aspect of this movie that does shine through the montages primarily. That being is that, you know, when they could get properly motivated and not be outshined by one individual, they are able to, you know, go to their highlights, go to their strengths, play to their strengths, as it were. So the movie definitely has a pretty strong flow in this regard. And yeah, I will say, you know, there's the heartfelt moment of like the mom clearly having passed, so there is that sense of like yearning and connection, and you see even Jet could clearly understand now, again, as I had previously mentioned, how much that means to this character, Will. So having moments like that, I think, really elevate the film. They definitely play on the animal aesthetic a little bit here. They have the goat do the whole ba thing that's in the trailers. It makes its way onto the film. But it doesn't just end with him. They have the panther do very cat-like things pretty consistently throughout the movie. The rhinos are really aggressive, as I'm pretty sure that tracks. I guess the giraffe is like the most unique because there is like that one other movie, and I already forget what it's called, that has the giraffe in it and the hippo and the Wild? Is that what it's called? I don't remember, but it's yeah, in terms of like pulling from what a giraffe is like prone to, I'm not really sure. So they kind of just do their own thing with him by making him a rapper too, which I felt was like a nice little like play against the horse guy. And then you just have Moto, who just exudes his own, you know, eccentric attitude in every line that he has in this movie, and every little bit of animation that he has as well. It is not just down to that. I think this film has definitely upped the lizard love in the world, outside of goats. But they play to all the characters. You have the ostrich putting her head in the dirt, the big ostrich thing, I guess. But I digress in saying that, you know, despite these little like pretty obvious things to do with animals, like obviously that's likely going to be an outcome when you use animals, is like people are probably going to suspect there are going to be animal shenanigery in terms of the whole use of comedy, but I digress in saying that I think this is a really solid movie overall. The writing is really straightforward and is, not really held back by any necessary flaws that I can think of off the top of my head. Um, it feels like everything that flows, even if it might come across as convenient, like the whole thing with the horse, just as an example, like that to me comes from just understanding what type of character he is. He's the show guy. He's got to make the example out of everybody else, and that was his whole reasoning for even opening up the invitation to begin with. And it came from a character trait, not necessarily just being a convenience. They layered it on top of a thing that is typically just a convenience. They made it a character trait. Things of this really help elevate this sort of story from being just your bog standard basketball-esque type story. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think this is slightly better than your average movie. Maybe even a 9 out of 10. I'm not sure exactly where I would land. Maybe the comedy could have been a little bit stronger, maybe do a few more unexpected things, though, again, the giraffe and Moto, I will give Moto the biggest of thumbs up in terms of just, like, everything that character does in this movie really is really cool, or really just bizarre, which is, again, cool, as the way I see it. Yeah. So, yeah, 8 or 9 out of 10, a really solid movie. So if you have not seen it, and yeah, look forward to that. Could there be a sequel? Because I know, there's the whole Spider-Man trilogy thing. Could there be a sequel to this movie? I could see it. I think it'd be interesting to get a sequel to this movie. In fact, what happens when, I think the passing of the torch has to be done officially, so unfortunately it would be a send-off officially to Jet, but, what could push Will as a character, I think that is a question now that he's achieved the dream at least once. Where can you take a character like that? And I think there is room for that kind of question. Like, maybe you make it sort of about, like, was it a one-hit wonder? Maybe that kind of character archetype thing of, like, and just seeing, like, different types of competitors rising to the occasion, mayhaps. Maybe he's, influencing in different ways outside of just him being the best. Maybe, that's carrying forward in not just the way he operates, but how the world is operating. That'd be a really interesting follow-up. And I will say, one of my favorite bits, it's a really short bit, but it's a thing that sports, theaters do, so, they do it here in the movie, is the kissing cam. So, you have, like, 3 animal pairs, and, each has their own unique animation for, like, their significant other. It's all fun and, really, like, I forget which pairs of animals they use for each, but, like, yeah, I would say, like, that's, like, a standout, like, little nod to just, like, how sports operates as, like, a phenomena, as it were. So I do think that this film paid attention to, like, how things are even sold in that regard. But again, I do think that a sequel would be fun to sort of ponder about. I mean, there was a Zootopia too. All things. If we really truly are considering that this movie is supposed to be like Zootopia, then surely there must be a Goat 2 to rival Zootopia 2, right? I say bring it on. So that's what I'm looking forward to if they ever do decide to draw back from what they have seen from this movie, and if it was a success, I would love to see a Goat 2. So there's my desire for this film. Let's have it, within our lifetime, within my lifetime, please. I'll be thankful for it. But that is my review for Goat. And if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description, and 1 to head to my petition about smaller YouTubers, 2nd to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and 3rd to my Discord server. You can join, collab, shield, do all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.